Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well on July 16th. What's the summer halfway done already? It's ridiculous. But it is what it is. I figured I would pop on because I got time. I got some stuff I gotta do today. I got a video that's pretty much done for tomorrow. And with the new format temporary format, where I'm gonna kind of do maybe 2 or 3 minutes of continuous playing, because I'm not really doing that much of the demo stuff, and the rest of it will just be talking because I can't just play for long periods of time. I think I'll be able to post a little bit more. So we were able to get 2 last week. Hopefully going forward 2, maybe even 3, depending on how much time I have. And if I find anything actually interesting enough to talk about, I'm not just going to pump out stuff for the sake of it. But with that being said, a lot of interesting stuff was brought up in the last video. And I kind of wanted to start there before we get into the offsets. Because the offsets. I love them. We were talking about the amps. I know I just looked at the offsets. But I thought I made that video about the amps and I screwed up. As soon as I hit into edit and I was in Final Cut, I had all footage into it, I realized that there was a massive talking point that I missed on. But it kind of gives me an opportunity on the next video or for a different video to really drive the point home on that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I basically just made a video where I talked about how I feel like the amp is the most important part of the signal chain outside of you as a player. And I don't even think it's close. And a lot of people agreed with me. A lot of people said opposing things about, oh, my modeler, my Line 6, my Fractal, my Quad Cortex, it does everything and more. It's perfect. The sound guys love me. Can you say the same thing about your amp? I have consistent tone every night. And it brought me to another thing. And plugins. A lot of people were talking about their plugins. And I feel like, I don't know where you guys sit on this. I know my audience tends to be on a little bit of like my age, a little bit older, I don't like how things are now. Just generally speaking in the world, in the sense of everything is a subscription. You don't own anything. And the stuff that you do own, not all of it is made to actually last for the long haul. Like the amp behind me, this Music Man is older than I am. Made in the mid-1970s. Still works like a champ, and it will continue to work like a champ. If something goes, I can get it replaced. If your modeler breaks and it's discontinued, because guess what? These things, they have lifespans on them. You're going to shell out, another $2,000 on another one of those or whatever the inflated price is. And you're just in an infinite cycle of it. So in the long term, you're going to spend way more on something like that. And then when you get to the plugins, I don't know how many of you guys, I know Greg. If Greg is in here today, he'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. You purchase a bunch of plugins. And guess what happens? The company, I'll use Waves. Waves is a really good example of this. So if you had bought a bunch of Waves plugins, they were like the industry standard for plugins. They moved to subscription. So they're like, don't worry about it, blah, 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 blah. What happens when the company decides that they're not going to update the old ones, and that in order for you to be able to use the newer versions or just get the newer versions at all, you just can't buy them outright? Not Waves, just in general here, because this is the path we're going down. You have to get the subscription to get the stuff. I looked at that new Sweetwater device with, was it Anagram? I think it was something like that. Oh no, Dark Glass, where they can load the NAM captures and all that. I thought it was pretty interesting until I actually learned more about it. It's a freaking DLC store from a video game to get all the effects. So you spend $1,300, $1,400 on the piece of hardware. You're going to dump all this money just like you would old school ways into the plugins to get all the effects that you want onto the thing. What happens in 10 years? You could easily get $2,000 into that thing without breaking a sweat based on what I was looking at with some of the prices. That's not good. That's not good. For some people, they're cool with that because we've been trained to, every 3 or 4 years, you replace this guy. So why shouldn't your other things in your life be like that? We all play for subscriptions on all this other Netflix stuff and streaming or whatever it is, right? I don't like the idea of not having autonomy over the musical instrument side of things. So with an amplifier, you actually get it. And you don't get it with all of them because, unfortunately, not all amplifiers are built to be serviceable or last the long haul. Some of them are going to fall into the same camp that I just talked about with the modelers. Not a big Fender guy, but any of those ones like the Blues Junior, the Hot Rod Deluxe, the ones where the tubes are actually mounted onto the board. Board mounted tube sockets. That's a recipe for disaster. That's heat. That's boom. You're gonna burn it out eventually at some point. Might not happen immediately. Might not happen even in a year or two. But when it goes, you're gonna replace the board. Have fun with that. It's not cool. Not to me. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. That was kind of my opening thing here, and it was something I wanted to expand upon, and I'm gonna go further into it. I've already started writing a little bit about everything I want to go over so I don't screw up, because that last video was literally just off the cuff. This is totally on the fly. It was just something I thought about. I read the comment and I was just like, oh, I can do this. I don't have to worry about sitting and playing for an hour and a half. I could just yap for a few minutes. Hey Pops, how you doing? Daniel, David, plugins and modelers are too sterile. That's a very different conversation to have. I agree with you, but it's a different conversation to have. You're 38. Yeah, we're around the same age. I'm a little older than you. Remembering losing software support, Silverlight for Fender amps. Yeah, dude, that's the other thing. That's the problem. And what happens when the support just ends, period? You're just stuck with it. Or what happens if you run Mac like I do, and then all of a sudden the latest OS, it becomes a legacy thing. Your plugin or your standalone, and it won't run. What do you do at that point? Nothing. Do you know you never have to worry about that? The Z doesn't have to worry about that. Obviously, the Music Man has never had to worry about any of that nonsense. It's crazy to me. We sacrifice so much for convenience. And at the end of the day, we have great options available. Like I use a Quad Cortex. I don't use it all the time, but at night especially, I think the thing is great to use, and it's useful live. I mean, not right now, it's not because I'm not really playing live, but gigging it is great because it does give you a little bit of control, but it's a totally different experience. And having all those amps to you, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because you get stuck with option paralysis. You get a great amp that doesn't have a billion freaking controls and 9 channels to switch from. It's built to last. You dial on a tone fairly easily. The rest is on you. You just shut up and play. That's how I prefer to do things. Greg, what have you missed? I was talking about Waves plugins and subscription stuff and how it's all waste and how it's all nonsense. Your favorite Kiesel Antares? You know, Antares are the people that make Autotune. I say that because we were just talking about plugin stuff. I will look at it real quick. I'm not a fan of Kiesel though. You're not gonna sell me on that brand or anything. It's just funny because I am a San Diego guy, and they were right up the road from me. That's a shredder guitar. That's not an offset. What are you talking about? That's a shredder guitar. I mean, if that's your cup of tea, that's cool. And I like that it is definitely its own thing. But that's not an offset. Not to me. I don't know. Let me see if I can maneuver this so that it'll pop up on the screen for you guys so you can know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah, okay. When you think of an offset, is this what you're thinking of, guys? Let's see. Built to be extreme. Cavity counterweight. To offset neck dive. An optional 1 pound removable brass counterweight is inserted into the electronics cavity eliminating the need for an extra cover on the rear of the body. Diamond acrylic, I don't really care about that. Okay, and of the bridge options, the only bridge that an offset player is not available. So you got the Evertune, the Floyd Rose, the Hip Shot, or the Hip Shot Fixed. There's no offset vibrato. And an extended scale length. It should be a shorter scale length if it's an offset. That's a cool green, though. I like that. It's pretty fancy. What do they get? What are they gonna kill you for these guys? Huh? How bad? How bad is it? 1,700. That's not terrible. But how much is it if you actually make one that's nice? Blue mist, sure. Top coat. Whatever, I don't care. I'm not gonna do this anyway. So around $2,000. Around $2,000. It's very futuristic. It actually kind of looks like a Music Man minus the headstock. I can't think of the model. Maybe an Albert Lee. Is that the one I'm thinking of? And only one tone control or one volume control, no tone controls. Am I seeing that right? Yeah. One volume, no tone. Well, that's something. I'm happy you like it. That ain't for me. You haven't updated your plugins for 3 years. Yeah, you're not going to be able to. Professor Poo Poo Pee Pee. I love your name. You're a very, very professional person. I appreciate the appreciate the username, but you made a good point. And I shitpost on the troll too, so I don't mind. Imagine being mid-gig and your amp stops working and needs updated payment info for another year of use. We're not far off of that. Your license is expired. I'm afraid you can't go on until you put in your credit card details, and we're going to need that CVV from the back of your card. So on stage, you're going to have to pull it out and make sure everything's right. And you're also going to need a Wi-Fi connection at the gig. Yeah. In seriousness, the odds of that happening are fairly low, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's the weird thing about that. And you guys know how it is with the subscription. When it goes, like the second it expires, there's no leadway. You're cut off. So why wouldn't it work the same way with something like that? Food for thought. You keep getting a discount to update. Well, yeah, they want you back in the ecosystem. They want you on the subscription, Greg. You can get all the Waves plugins. Like Cyberpunk. It's a little dystopian. It's a little dystopian. All right, what were you saying about the dark glass? So, I was close. It was the dark glass anagram. You also went to Fractal for effects. I'm getting most of your pedals, including Tonex and all my amps, except for the Soldano. You're 44. All right, yeah, you're only 2 years old now. The way I do it, and I'll be honest with you, I'm thinking of downsizing, because if I look at the board, I don't know if I should pick the thing up, but I feel like it won't make sense if I don't. Let's see how dumb of an idea this is. Okay. All right. So, let me move back. This is my board. Got my drive, the Origin one, the Protein, and the Juliana. They go into the Quad Cortex. Quad Cortex is only used for the amp and the IR. I don't use any of the effects on the Quad Cortex. Hell, I don't even really use any of the routing. From there, it goes into the H9. That goes into the Volante. That goes into the Big Sky. And it goes into the PCH. And what I like about the PCH is I get the through output here. That goes to the amplifier. I got headphones. And the headphone amplifier on this is way better than this. That's part of the reason I like this so much more than this for that particular thing, and why I feel like I don't need this. So I can monitor back through this or plug in ears through that. And then I get 2 XLR outs to send to either the interface or the front of house. And I bring that to you because I said I was thinking about maybe, downsizing, because what the hell's the point of the quad cortex at that point? I like the way it sounds, but it's overkill. I think the nano makes more sense if I'm just using it for the amps. And I'm not the kind of person that uses 40 different amps. I mean, like, I've captured all my stuff, but I'm using the Z or a studio vintage capture. That's pretty much it. And then anything else I need, I'm getting from either one of the dirt pedals or, the time-based stuff after the fact. But I'm just not utilizing everything the quad cortex offers. And I don't see myself utilizing it anytime soon. Let me know. What do you think about that? My nuts? Also, I was really proud of how that pedal board came out. Normally, they look like crap when I do them. I do a terrible job of routing things. I never have the right cables. But this one came out super clean. And I'm using the Walrus power supply now. I like it a lot. Really cool. You'll stick with the tube amps? Don't blame you. You can update your perpetual license of Waves at any time to the latest version. You just haven't done it for 3 years. Never done subscriptions for anything recording. You own all your stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're of the same kind of thought process, Greg. Like, I just don't like it. There are certain things you can't get around. Well, you used to not be able to get around. But now, it's one of the reasons why I like UA. Granted, UA do the bundle subscription stuff for people. But with the Apollo, you outright own the plugins that work with the Apollo that use the DSP on it. And you pay for it once, you buy them when they're on sale, and you're good. The only thing I wish that they did was the that Paradise guitar suite. That thing sounds pretty good, but it only runs native. I think that was a huge screw up because they wanted more people to be able to use it. I would use it. Probably, like, I don't know if I would use a quad cortex or need a quad cortex or a nano at all at that point, because I could just go right in and then there's no latency whatsoever. But having to run it native inside of Pro Tools, nah, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that. So UA kind of, in my opinion, they're leaving money on the table with that. That it is what it is. Yeah, it's an interesting hybrid setup. And then when I'm using an amplifier, which is 90% of the time, the patch that's loaded on a quad cortex, all it is I think a Friedman BEOD capture I made, and then a few other pedal captures that I've made. I don't use any of their time bass. I don't use any of their modulation, because like I said, I got the Juliana. That to me is like the greatest chorus ever. I just got the H9. That thing is out of this world. That could do pretty much anything you need to throw at it. The Belante, the delays, the looper, and a spring reverb if I want that. And then the Big Sky, which is like the over the top crazy sounds. So the quad cortex is just kind of like, it's great, but it's overkill. You own all the UA stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't updated Waves in so long. Yeah, the UA stuff is really good, man. Even the preamps. And I'm not a big emulation guy in general. I'd much rather prefer the hardware. But you look at the prices of man. Do you remember when the flagship channel strip, the UA one? That used to be like $1,200. What does that go for now? Where it's just like, I think it's just a 610 preamp with a compressor. Those things are a fortune. Those things are a freaking fortune. Let me go to my favorite place. Sweetwater. Audio. LA610. Yeah, the LA610 is 2 Gs now. I was talking to my buddy about this. All right. This is how you know the industry is not doing so great. Let me see if it's loading the same thing. Yeah, it is. All right. I think I got this down today, guys. I think we're doing okay. Okay. So what I want you to notice is Yeah, this is 2Gs, or you finance it. Now, normally, when things were going really good sales wise, you'd never see this. You'd never see this where it says find it used on the gear exchange. You'd never see that. The only thing that you would normally find there would be like if they had an open box. But you have to keep in mind, if you buy something here on the gear exchange, like if I click this guy, all right, and let's just say mint condition, $1,200, 100 shipping, 13 and then tax. And I'd rather buy a new one with a warranty personally at that point. But if you buy this off of the gear exchange, Sweetwater's going to get paid that way too. So it's just another way for them to make a few bucks, and it's actually easier for them because it's a third party thing. They take their cut of the sale and then they wash their hands. If you got a problem with it, guess what? You're calling the manufacturer, or you're bringing it into a tech if it's an amplifier or something like that. But once you start seeing the used stuff on the brand new product page, I mean, they should be pushing you as hard as you can to buy new. Finance it. That financing should be in huge letters. But no, buy it used on the gear exchange, which I've had a lot of, not a lot, but I've had good experience on the gear exchange. Not quite Guitar Center level. But then again, I've had some horrible experiences on Guitar Center used. So take that for what you will. Crazy how close they got with their amps. Obviously not the same as tube amps, though. I think they're pretty good. But the thing is, and I'm beating a dead horse, but it's just the damn truth. I don't care if it sounds perfect if I'm just playing. If I'm sacrificing the experience of having it pumped through the amplifier. And even something like, you use a pedal baby into a cabinet, it's still not the same. You're getting juice, but it's just not the same. And how do I know this? I tried it. I don't always make videos for gear review. Sometimes, if I just am not a fan of it, even if I think somebody else might like it and I don't think it's a particularly bad thing, I just won't make the video. Because what am I going to do? Especially at this point. Like, I got to like what I'm doing. Otherwise, what's the point? But there's nothing that beats just playing a real tube amp in the room. Personal preference. I don't get along nearly as well with the headphones. I don't care how good your studio monitors are. It ain't the same experience. It's just not. Anybody who tells you it is, they're crazy. Or they've never played a crank tube amp. They're crazy. Oh, let me see. You're thinking about all Bluetooth standards? Something like H9. Someone in the crowd switching presets for you. Oh, that would be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. I read something about Stadium, somebody having that happen to them. Now, whether or not that's true or false, I can't comment on. But it wouldn't shock me. And given how horrible of a release they had and how the thing's still not reliable, yeah, I can't say I would be surprised. I would be surprised. Real amp in the room is where it's at. And on your previous comment, I just ain't talking about it. The season is starting in a few weeks. I can't wait. A few weeks. What do we got? We got beginning of August. That's when the sport begins again. It's over for me now. Absolute worst case scenario happened. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, I mentioned I want to talk about offsets. All right. I told you guys, well, I got a few things I want to talk about with this. I don't know where to start. So I'm not gigging for a while. It's out of my hands. Can't stand up, can't play that long. My knee's busted. I got to go see another specialist on the 22nd. We got to drive just north of Tampa for that. So it is what it is. Hopefully this can be either operated on or sorted sooner than later. And I'm thinking, well, that's a lot of money you just lost. So what am I going to do? All right. I already saw the one guitar, the Jazz Master, the pink one. I got another one there. I was messing around with that one to make sure everything was cool with it. An American Original Jag. And I got two more coming from Japan. Both of those are Jags too. And I'm just gonna get back into selling guitars to make up the difference. But that's fun for here though, because that provides opportunity to make videos with, right? And in my opinion, those are even better because the one thing it's not the platform's fault. And when I say the platform, I mean YouTube. But there are so many people that all they'll do is sponsored or promotional things to the effect that it's really hard to gauge an actual opinion on anything. And not everyone's the same. And I don't care. People can operate one way or the other as long as they're not like blatantly breaking laws, which unfortunately some people are. Like it's none of my damn business, and they're choosing to do it and they're going to make a living that way. I choose not to, which is why, I'm going to, instead of leaning into stuff and doing controversy videos and things like that, like, yeah, I'll just buy some guitars from Japan, I'll resell them. I won't make as much money, but it's a little bit here and there. I'll focus on quick turnaround and getting stuff people want, getting it in, getting it out. But when you do stuff like that, the only real vested interest you have is until that guitar is gone. But most of the time, especially with the offsets, you don't need to sell them. Like sell them in a video. You don't need to pitch them. Things are great. Everybody knows they're great, especially the Japanese stuff. And when you're doing the sponsored stuff, I don't know, do you guys see the little tag and automatically have something go off in your head where it changes versus if somebody doesn't have the tag and they're just talking? There could be two videos about the same thing. Both of them could be about a Fender Jaguar, right? One of them is the sponsored. Fender gave them the guitar for the video. Maybe they got paid too. One of them is just a dude that bought the guitar and is talking. All other things being equal, which one are you more likely? Just generally speaking, I don't want you to pick out any YouTubers. I'm not trying to do anything like that. But just generally speaking, from your perspective, which one are you more likely to take, maybe perhaps a little bit more seriously, or do you look at them in the same light? Before I go further, I'm really interested to see what you guys say about that. Sponsored makes me feel it is suspect. I am the same way. And that's, I don't know, I don't watch a ton of this. And part of it is because, if everything you do is sponsored, that's great. You're making a living. I really, again, I can't stress this enough. You do what you got to do to pay your bills. If you got a family, you got to feed them. Or if you're just, single dude and you have the time to do this enough where you can do all this stuff, if it works for you, great, dude. I probably would have too when I was 20, late teens, 20s. I would have done all this stuff. I would have taken every single opportunity. I had nothing else going on outside of just gigging. You're telling me I could make money, not have to go to a crappy day job with corporate, make videos about guitars, have some beers, go to sleep, wake up, go play a gig, and do it all over again? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'm down. But that's not how I am now. Now, when I look at this stuff, if I see the thing, and especially it's just, you say everything is the best. This is the best guitar for $500. And it's not even like the question of it. You come out and you say it. The problem becomes, eventually, somebody's going to put two and two together. I mean, some people do, but most people are going to be able to put two and two together and say, well, if every video this guy's doing is sponsored, or this girl is sponsored, guys, mostly. And everything they do, regardless of the brand, is the best overall. Yet they said the same thing about this brand last time. Now it's this brand, and now this brand's the best. Oh, now this foreign brand is paying you. But they're the best. They're better than the brand that's been really good to me all this time. Just because I'm the one, they're the ones paying me for this video, so I'm just going to say whatever. Where does it get to a point where it's just useless? To me, that's why I always say, you guys, I'm like, I don't find value in it. And that's why I think it's a positive thing. People will say, "Oh, you're reviewing guitars that you're buying to resell, and you're doing this for profit. It's a scalp." It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm able to find these things. I'm able to get these things. I've been doing this for so long. I told a lot of these people how to do it, and that was a stupid mistake on my part years ago on YouTube. I didn't tell everything, but I told enough to get myself in trouble, and enough that some of the shops on YouTube now do it. Or on Reverb, they do it. But at that point, I could say, it doesn't matter what I say. At all. Because I'm answering to nobody. I'm answering to myself. And I love that. So in some ways, I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Does that mean the sponsor stuff's going to stop? Nah. I'm a little pickier on what I do now. Like, I got a video with Lawler. Do I really have to say anything else about that? Because guess what? All my Fenders, -2, have Lawlers. I bought them. Except for the ones in the Jazzmaster. If I believe in a product, it's easy to sell in the whole world. I wasn't part of the timeline thing. I didn't really see a need for it. I love the Belante. So I didn't approach them because, you get fed information in advance sometimes. They didn't approach me, but I'm sure they're the coolest people at Strymon. If I had sent them an email, I probably could have gotten on that. And I would have been really happy with it. I just didn't see the need for it. I'm really happy with the Belante. And if I ever worked with a great amp manufacturer, it's yeah, dude, great. I did stuff with the Supro. I think the Supro is great for what it is. Did the Marshall. I don't love the drive channel on that. I know I did the My Bloody Valentine stuff with that. But personally speaking, it's not my flavor. I'm more of either an 800 guy or a Plexius kind of guy. That's kind of my speed with those. But the clean channel is great, and the reverb on that Marshall's crazy good. But yeah, I'm just from my end here, and my perspective, sharing it with you guys. That's just how I look at it. I'd rather do less and not have a new thing every single week, and know that either the product is good, not have to worry about that, or just that I like it and I'm interested in it. That's just how I'm personally going to handle things. Is my way the benevolent way? No. It is what it is. I can sleep at night. Okay, let's see here. Well, you don't hit the like on the sponsored ones. They don't need it. I don't take the videos 100%. I think it's obvious when they're putting you on. You'd be surprised. Lawlers are the best pickups on earth. That's why working with them is so easy. It's the same reason why working with Origin is so easy. Origin Effects. They make the best pedals for the kinds of pedals they make. They make the best stuff. When I worked with Strymon on the Big Sky MX. Are you nuts? That's the king of all reverb pedals. You don't have to put on a face and look for the positives and glaze over things when you work with brands that make high quality shit. That's industry standard. And that's kind of just where I'd want to be. And even Fender. People could not believe that I genuinely like the Vintera 3 that much. I love playing that guitar. Man. Yeah, it's a good one. We'll get back to the offsets in a second. I kind of got off on a tangent, but I asked you guys your opinion, so I'm going to read them. Don't tell me a Harley Benton is better than a Gibson Custom Shop or a PRS Core. You can say it is good for the money, but don't tell us $500 guitar is better than $3,000 one. That is that's a topic we're gonna have fun with that one tomorrow. It's not just Harley Benton. You love honest reviews, pointing out the good and the bad as bass. If I'm still interested deeper, it's worth to try it in person. That's a pretty healthy way to look at it, David. I don't care if it's sponsored or not. I'm not there to see the gear and make my own judgment. Or you are there. Sponsored or not, you don't put too much stock in what someone says. I'm just judging how I will use it. The Fender Mexicans you have. The Mexican Fenders. It's just I'm not a politically correct person. Like I don't care. The stuff I grew up saying and hearing in New York City in the late 80s and early 90s. Some of the stuff I was saying at like 5 years old before it turned into the 90s was probably really, really bad by today's standards. So I'm not correcting you for any other reason than it just reads funny to say the Fender Mexicans. The Mexican-made Fenders you have are every bit as good as the custom shops you have. I don't think that it's a gigantic stretch as people would assume to come to that conclusion if they work for you. Some people read that and be like, that guy's nuts. Depends on the model, and just it also depends how good of a job you did setting the thing up or who you paid to set it up. Because you can make some of those into world beaters. Like that Jag needs nothing. And I'm a big mod guy. Like I like tinkering. I like doing stuff. There's nothing I want to modify or need to modify on the Viterra 3 Jaguar. That thing out of the box is perfect. For like an old school vintage style Jag is perfect. The only thing I'm curious about is trying different saddles. Because I'd like to just, for my own experiments kind of sake here, I'd like to see just how big of a difference I could make it just a little bit brighter acoustically, because I feel like it'll translate more, because I have it tuned down half a step, that guitar now. It's in A flat. I'm doing some weird things with that Jag. But yeah. But that's it. Functionality wise, that thing is perfect. For you don't mind sponsored when you can tell that the YouTuber isn't a D-bag, cough, cough. I'm not gonna, yeah. Like I said, I'm not here to bury. If you guys want to bury people, I'm not gonna censor anybody. I'm not gonna tell you not to do that, but I'm not gonna do that. So I'm not gonna read it off. But I get what you're saying. Hey Jim, do you have any experience with Fender Mustangs from the '70s? Opinions? If so, I had one. Actually, I've had 3, but I had one for a longer extended period of time. The other 2 were quick buy and resells. I had a 1974 is the one that I had for a while. It had a metallic purple refinish on it that was old, and it was awesome. The vibratos on the older Mustangs are so much better than the newer ones. They're so much better. And it's not just the Fender Mexico ones. It's the Fender Japan ones. Even the American Performer one. I would rather have an old one from the 70s or 60s. Those ones are the jam. I love those. The pickups were incredible. A little bit lower output, but awesome. They sound really good with gain. Mustang gets slept on, just in stock form, for like heavier stuff. The thing rocks. I think it's the best of the 3, between the Jaguar, the Mustang, and the Jazzmaster. I think the Mustang gets the best beefy sounds, which is, kind of goes against conventional thought because it's the small student model. But in my experience, it's excellent at those. Okay, the 900 clean with reverb is really nice. Yeah, that was the biggest selling point of the Ant to me, which is funny. Because that's the last thing I needed between the Music Man and the Z with the reverbs and those. And I don't know. I'm on the fence with the Princeton. I might move it on. Because what I'm thinking is long term, and that's the other thing. I'm starting to think like really, really long term, just to be like done with it, done with it. I've been looking for a blackface, and they're expensive, man. Like a real blackface. One of the originals, like a '64, it's not gonna have the Fender logo on it, but one of those that's actually somewhat original where it matters, but then, maintenance and service by good people that know what they're doing. I would love one of those old Princeton reverbs. I would love one. But like you're $4 or $5 grand, and if you don't, and the problem with those is if you don't buy one from a place like, Carter's or a place that specializes in vintage stuff, where like it's gonna come perfect. If you buy it from a third party, dude, you could spend 4 or 5 G's on an old vintage amp. It could last you a week and a half because the guy was doing something to cover it up. And this is the thing about electronics. You can do stuff to patchwork so it'll work temporarily, and then it's just going to give. You're back at the tech, and you're going to spend, who knows, depending on the problem. So that $4,000 amp could be a $7,000 amp, and then it's worth even less because, you had to, it's even less original than, as advertised. It's dicey. And then the other kind of thought is, well, you could do something safer than that for like that kind of that 10-inch speaker sound, and just get something like a Benson, the Vinny Jr. or the Nathan Jr. Because what I like about those is they're 5-watt amps, and there's sometimes like I can't get the most out of the Z, specifically at night. It has the mastered volume, it just doesn't sound great at night at low volumes. Whereas a 5-watt amp, it's nicer. That's something I really liked about the Tone King Gremlin. So something, and it's an interesting thing because the build quality of the Bensons is top notch, absolutely top notch. But an old blackface Princeton reverb, man, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think that would be something awesome. You just keep it forever. All right. I missed some stuff. I'm apologizing. I was talking about 70s Mustangs and then that. Okay. The Fender Mexicans make great guitars. They sure do. Those Fender Mexicans. I can't make. I hate 2026. There's such. You're giving me a layup of a joke. I can't make it. I want to make it. I'm married to a Mexican woman. I want to make it, but I can't. All right, you guys are talking about some other guy. Mexican made can be made into good guitars. It is hyperbole to say it is as good as a custom shop. Yeah, F me is an elitist, but saying a custom shop is superior is not a bash on the made in Mexico. I'm kind of with you on that, dude. I'm kind of with you on that, Rummy. Like, because there are certain things that you can't. I don't know. Especially in the hands, because on the spec sheet you can make the argument like, oh, you can get them really close. You have somebody like perfectly level off the frets, have somebody perfectly dress the frets, you have somebody perfectly dial in the nut. You upgrade the hardware a little bit. Throw in a set of Lollers. No plug. I just love Lollar pickups. And just as good as a custom shop. Just got a poly finish on it. A little bit more to it than that. But that doesn't mean I dislike the Vintera 3 or like it any more or less because of it, because in its own right, not comparing it to anything else, I think it's an absolutely wonderful instrument that I'm happy to play every time I pick it up, and that's what really matters. You'd bet your life the 75th anniversary silver one is as good too. I don't know which one that is. The Sparkle one? The Telly? The one that just came out this year? Yeah, Player 2. Sorry, I'm jogging my own memory here. Maybe, maybe not. It's all subjective. Thanks. You've been looking at some Mustangs from the late 70s specifically, and it seems like they aren't crazy overpriced. They're not. That's a good place to get in, Chad. That's a really good place to get in. Shoot for 12. 12 or 13. You think I'm crazy? I'm not. You can get them for those. Matter of fact, I think I just saw a 77 sell for $12.50. I think it might have been a 77. And the reason I didn't move on that one is because it was a sunburst. Fun fact, you know how much I dislike sunburst? I turned down the opportunity to get an all-original 1963 Fender Jaguar at a great price. Even by now standards, it's a great price. The only thing it had was, I think one fret was replaced, and it had a non-original nut, but everything else was all original. And I couldn't bring myself to do it because I was never going to spend even $1,000 on a sunburst instrument. And that made me so sad. I was like, why couldn't you be any other color? White, black, a custom colors on it would have never been that price in a custom color. But anything other than three-tone sunburst. Broke my heart. Broke my heart, Fredo. Hi from Sydney. How are you, James? How's the family doing, man? You doing good? Kids surviving out there in Japan? All right. People confuse watching a review lots of times. Start watching one looking for an agenda and you will find it. Watch a review for the product, you'll get more out of it. It really depends on who's making it, man. Because sometimes it is no more than a QVC ad. And that's why I kind of gave up on the platform of, paying attention to what other people do. And if I wanted to watch QVC, I'd pay for cable and I'd watch QVC. You bought yours from CME. Yeah, that's another place I would trust, though. But buying a blackface amplifier, or even something older than that, like a Tweed. I don't have it, that trust factor to buy it from a place, from an individual seller. I just don't have it. And I'm not going to go meet a guy at his house and ask to pull the board and look at it and run tests with a digital multimeter and check out, the condition of the solder points. That's not, you're not doing that. And on Reverb, people will take the gut shots from a mile away and be like, oh, but it's not enough for you to make a reasonable assessment, like a full-on assessment. So you do get that peace of mind by spending extra if you go somewhere like the Chicago Music Exchange, Carter's, and there's some other really good places. Imperial Guitars out on the West Coast. Music City Guitars. So, yeah, I'd rather spend a little more and know that I'm getting something that pros have gone over, that know what they're doing, and they have a high standard, and they have a reputation to uphold, because it's going to hurt them if they sell you something not as advertised. Whereas the individual seller, what's he going to get, a bad review? You think that guy gives a shit? He got paid. All right. Hey, Jerry, how you doing? You agreed. If you buy a vintage amp, I want it untouched on the inside so I can have it done right. We're up 100%, brother. 100%. Hey, Lee. Whenever I see Lee, I think of 1990s PRS CE22s and CE24s. He loves those guitars, in case you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Jerry, you got a 52 Magnetone Varsity yesterday. Killer little amp. More champ than a champ. Huh. Those are pretty gnarly. Champ's just not my thing, though. Actually, I'd rather have a champ than a Tweed. The Tweed's my least favorite. It's just too buzzsawy. Champs are cool, though. I'm happy you got that. What do you hate more? That's a great question. Sunburst or SGs? I can answer that one easily. A Sunburst SG. Do the Jakey Lee move and paint over the Sunburst crap? It was an all original 1963, dude. I wasn't gonna do it. See, the thing is, that guy, if it was half the price and the Sunburst was a refin Sunburst, we'd be talking about a very different thing here. Because then I don't feel bad about refinishing it, because it's already been refinished once. Then you just get it refinished correctly. You bring it to somebody and say, will you please paint this a color that is not, making me physically ill? I've been very happy to pay you, sir. You do a good job. Yeah, ship it off to Mario Martin. Those guys will do it. Or there's a cool place here about 2 hours away in Orlando. I believe it's Star Guitars. They'll do a refund. But yeah, I can't paint over an original 60s guitar. I can't be the one to break the seal on a vintage Fender on the paint. I can't do it. I ain't cut out for it, man. I ain't cut out for it. Oh, Greg, you know I hate sunburst. I've told you that for years. You're doing a fret job on a 94 CE24 right now. Say, how well do I know my audience? It's all about just paying attention to people, man. I don't know. And for some reason, like, I like, do you guys that regularly post in here? I remember, like, conversations we have. I remember little things. I don't know why. But, like, I forget things that I absolutely should not forget in real life, which can be a problem at times. You have a hard time getting into amps because you have to play quietly at home. I use house amps when I play open mics. That's a tough spot to be in, but check out the Tone King Gremlin, man. Seriously. It's a 5-watt amplifier, that 12-inch speaker in it. The thing sounds great. It's got an attenuator built into it. That thing at night is fantastic. Just use like a Strymon Flint in front of it. You want a reverb and delay. That's old school sounding. That'll match it. Really, you could use anything, but I think the Flint matches that because it's kind of going after that kind of blackface tones. Fantastic. You play it to your heart's content. Sunburst SG, personal hell. Yeah, that really would be personal hell for me. You would like to have a dedicated practice space to try out amps and run them through their paces. Your only tube amp is the Vox, but you use the Katana more because it sounds better at low volume. That's the problem with, people think, 15 watts, oh, that's so low wattage. Nowadays, it's the opposite, actually. People used to think 15 watts is like, you can't do anything with 15 watts. Used to be like, if you were going onto a stage and you didn't have a 50-watt amp, like, what the hell are you doing? Go buy a real amp. And then, things changed. Venues changed. The audience decided to stay home and stream. And the venues decided, less volume. We want more controlled, more intimate. And then how about no volume? Can you use in-ears instead? We'll just use the in-ears you plug into your quad cortex or your fractal or whatever. Just no volume on stage. Just completely sterilize the entire experience for you. But now, because we're so used to stuff like that, like a 15-watt Vox, like to get that in the sweet spot, that ain't quiet. You can get it to make sound quieter than that, but for the sweet spot, yeah, you're not getting there. You're not getting there. So, I understand your dilemma. You like Sunburst and you love SGs. You can't stand the idea of a Sunburst SG. You're a good man. As a teen in the 2000s, thumbing through musician's friend, the dream was to have a Marshall half stack. Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. I didn't know much about amps. This is a very true and embarrassing story. Well, it's not embarrassing because you should be embarrassed when you don't know any better. You don't know any better. I had just moved back to New York. I've been gigging with the Music Man. I wasn't happy with it because I was going for a lot more aggressive music at that time. And I was using pedals with the Music Man. The Music Man was it's just not it. And the thing is just a tank. I think the thing weighs like 105, 110 pounds. It's absolutely ridiculous how heavy the thing is. But I went to the local store, and I was the same way as you, except I didn't grow up with guitar magazines. The only experience I had with looking at gear was either if I saw a band play live or if I saw it in the store. But I wanted a Marshall half stack too. And I walked in, and it was almost like fate because there was a purple Marshall half stack. And I was like, I was meant to get this. I walked in, I was so excited. And I went to the guy behind the counter, and I was like, that Marshall's great, man. I'm like, and the price is really good because it's fairly affordable at the time. At least it jumped out to me as being fairly affordable. And he goes, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "That thing's a piece of shit." He's like, "You're actually going out and playing." He's like, "You don't want that." He's like, "That's for people who want to put it in their man cave." He's like, "That's the MG series." And I was like, "What the hell's the MG series?" He's like, "It's solid state." And, he's just like, "You're not going to be happy with that." And I was like, "Yeah, really?" He's like, "I'm like, that makes that big of a difference?" He's just like, "You want a real Marshall?" He said, "Go over here." Guy pulls me up to some ridiculous thing that's 8 times as much money. And I was just like, I didn't even want to look at it because I was just like, I can't afford that. Just get me out of here. I'll keep using the stupid music, man. Not that it was stupid, but in my head at the time I was frustrated. I thought I had found my answer in a great color, and no. I ended up trying that MG, and I was just like, oh my God, this does sound bad. He's like, yeah, right? He's like, but it's going to sell, and it's going to sell quick. He's like, I'm telling you. He's like, it's going to go to somebody's man cave. They're probably never going to turn the thing on. They're going to place a Les Paul next to it, and that's going to be that. They'll have a Slash sticker or a Slash poster or an AC/DC poster behind it. Working Player 53. Hi there. You ain't no regular in these streams. We watch several of the videos and you like it. Thank you. The one where you referred to Dave Simpson's resonated with me the most. Well, Dave's a good guy, man. And that's you want to talk about doing it the honest way. Dave's as honest as you can get. And I don't always have time to sit in on a half-hour video and the philosophies of everything and the minutia of it all from Dave, but I appreciate what he does. I really do. And him advocating for stuff that matters to me much more than a new piece of gear, like that gig and stuff, that's a big deal. That's why I pointed it out. And I did do a cheap trick. I used the Fender controversy to get people in because the truth of the matter was I didn't really care, and I still don't really give a shit about what Fender's doing. I don't care. It doesn't really bother me. But I used it as my vehicle, as my vessel, so that I could pivot into talking about something I wanted to talk about and have more of an audience. Because if I just said something about like, we need to help gigging musicians or something like that in the title, nobody clicks that video. Nobody does. So I got to do 2 birds with 1 stone. I got to promote somebody who I think is a pretty cool guy, Dave, and talk about a topic that I actually feel is important, that the community should be much more worried about, instead of corporations fighting corporations over one corporation's ideas being blatantly copied by another corporation's ideas, or in some cases the corporation's ideas not even being close to the original corporation's ideas. It's all dumb. Let the lawyers figure it out. Whatever. I ain't going to let that bother me. I love Fender guitars. I love other guitars too. Whatever. There's nothing new. Your big amp these days is a 20 watt OTS. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. They'll make pretty much anything you want, those guys. That's really cool. But Sunburst SGs are kind of hideous. Yeah, finally. The truth comes out. They're all hideous. You put Sunburst on anything. Again, it's 2026. I can't say the joke I want to make. Or the analogy. But it goes down a lot, in my opinion. You put Sunburst on it. You added it, you morph it into an SG on top of that. You might as well be showing me a tuba. Actually, I'd rather have a tuba than an SG. You have a 58 original Ampeg. You think it's called a Rocket. Your friend has it now. He bought it for $100. Yeah, it's going to last you forever. Wasn't Kurt Cobain's Jag Sunburst Lefty? I don't know nothing about Kurt Cobain except that he inspired a lot of people to mangle vintage offset guitars, and that's unforgivable. You use your Vox when I can come home during breaks, and nobody is there. I got nothing against Kurt Cobain. In all seriousness, I'm not a Nirvana fan. The music never did anything for me, and I didn't get caught up in the minutia of all of his gear. Just so people don't rage at me in the comments. Just not a fan. Not a fan. Michael Schenker says good hard rock tone is on the edge of feedback. I saw him last year and he sounded good through a 50 watt Marshall. Yeah. Yeah, man. That's true. And that like crystal clear tone, I'm finding myself kind of getting away from it. Unless I'm doing a lot of the really heavy modern effects stuff in stereo like that. But it's like a totally different usage case. But like with the Z, normally I would use that with the volume, not the master, the actual volume, which is going to dictate how much drive is coming out of the amp. I'd have that right around 10 a.m. and then I'd use my master to pump it up so I get a really clean tone. But now the thing lives right around 1 or 2. And so it's a little edgy. With singles, you plug in humbuckers, it's like right at edge of breakup. And that's like a perfect baseline sound for me because then I can roll off the volume control and I'm good. Because I use great pickups like Lawler's. So rolling off a little bit's not going to destroy my high end. It's a good way to go about it. Believe he's right. That's good advice. When 90% of guitar YouTube was doing, oh my God, what's Fender doing? And you just posted something like, we should probably care about things in the future. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your kind words. I got to toot my own horn over it because I don't feel like what I did was, like, I don't know, wasn't special. But it did just dawn to me of the possibility of using something like that as a way to talk about something I felt was much more important. That's all. Try to define IP after 70 years is a joke. I think I think all of it's stupid. I think the whole thing is a joke. I think the fact that when you go to the gear page, there are hundreds of pages scattered across multiple threads of the same people arguing with each other and pretending to be lawyers and this and I'm that and I'm boycotting this and this company is a ripoff and that. Dude, play your guitar, bro. Just play your guitar. Why do you give a shit? Unless you work for one of these companies, like what do you care? And some of them are like defensible, and some of them like if your guitar outside of the headstock, like if you just look at a guitar, the body of it, and then you look at another guitar and the body of it, and they're identical from that, it says a lot more about you as a builder. Should you not be allowed to build those guitars? Like, I'm not here to say one way or another on that, but you're lazy. You should probably come up with something original regardless of what the chord says. You refretted your 72 SG special. Gave you the idea. Have it refinished in a burst. Not sure. No, I'm fine with bursts. Just not 3-tone sunburst. Sunbursts are really cool. I like Sakura burst. That's an awesome one. I kind of like the Dark Knight finish. That's a burst in a way. I've seen some cool bursts in the color blue. I've seen a purple. I had a charcoal purple burst guitar. I'm not opposed to bursts. Just brown ones. I'm not a fan of brown. I grew up in the day and age where the brown station wagon was a thing. All right? Not a fan of it. I see brown. I think of those. Awful. They tried to bring it back with the PT Cruiser. That failed miserably, and rightfully so. People love to shit on things. It was Gibson for a long time. Now it's easy to get clicks complaining about Fender and set. And you know what? It is what it is. What are you going to do? You can't stop somebody from doing something, whether it's somebody uploading a video or whether it's a billion people clicking the video. The market decides all that. Fine. It is what it is. Your last sentence is dead on, though. I don't care because nobody is paying me to care. Yeah. Doesn't matter. You like Les Pauls with just a plain burst top, I'm not going to lie. Hey, you know what? I have kind of a... No, mine's not a burst. It's a plain top. Mine's a plain top. It's not a burst. I'm boring. And then my 335's just a cherry one. I don't have a burst. Man, I was going to be able to prove y'all wrong. And before I could, I realized I'd be lying. Profound sadness. Oh, no, I can. Ah. No, I can't. It's not a burst. It's not. Forget it. You win. I don't have any bursts. All right, I'm gonna finish these last ones, and then I gotta get going for the day because I gotta run out with the car. Gibson was hated from 2016 to 2020 so bad. Yeah, they had it rough. Play authentic or die. I think that was the old kind of way of Gibson. You have a Vox AC10 and thought it'd be a good grab and go around the house. You hate the sound. You can't get it to sound good with any of your guitars. Get rid of it. I'm not a fan of those amps. I'm not one to normally say that or tell you what to do, but you already gave me the green light to say that because you already said you don't like the way it sounds. I do not think that those are great sounding amps. I'm not a fan of them whatsoever. I would sell it and get something else. Go try out a bunch and see which one speaks to you, but that ain't it. You actually just bought some Fender accessories for one of your Fender guitars. You don't care at all. Stone me internet. Haha. Well, I'll tell you, I feel like I've upset God with something because the thunder's like right over my head. You have an Ice T Burst R8. Very nice. I like the R8. Big chunky neck. You like Sunburst on an old beat up instrument. Your dad is an amazing mandolin player. Okay, on traditional instruments, I'm fine with it. Not on electric guitars. That's different. That's different. And I like a cherry sunburst, like a lemon burst. But once you get brown in it, like straight brown, go on. Go on. That's what we say to our cat and our dog when they screw up in this house. Go on. You know you made a mistake. I didn't talk about offsets at all. I don't know what. All right, before I get going, anybody that's been in here the whole time, type in a suggestion for what I should retitle this. I barely talked about offsets. Dime Slime, aka Lizard Burst, is your favorite burst. You know what? That's cooler than three-tone Sunburst. I'll take that. I'll take a Lizard Burst. I remember Gibson years ago, they had an Iguana Burst. And I showed it to somebody, and I was like, how cool is that? They're like, dude, are you on ecstasy or something? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? I was like, not right now. I'm not, no. But I think it looks great. They're like, that's really lame. I look back on it, and I'm like, yeah, I probably would have regretted it, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. Like, I don't know. You just like gold colors instead of sunburst. I have one gold guitar, and that's the only gold guitar that I'll ever spend my own money on. And that's the Aztec Gold Jazzmaster, which you'll be seeing over the weekend. Are you a fan of the wrapper offset? What the hell's that? The wrapper? Reverb.com. I can't keep up with all these brands. I already looked up what was the one offset the guy told me to look up? Wrapper offset? There's nothing here in the moment. Reverb says that there's no such thing as the wrapper offset. Yeah, no. We looked up a Kiesel offset earlier. That's how we started the stream today. Oh, it's the dude's name? No, of course, no. No. Now, I'll close with that. My comments on that. I bet he or she is cheating on me right now. Well, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because I can hear the woman over there. She's cooking cookies. Hey, didn't you demo an SEC 24 satin hardtail? What's the word? I didn't do the hardtail. I did the regular one. I thought it was great. Okay. Oh, with the rap thing. So anybody that just doesn't think that I was scoffing at the fact that of course I didn't know a modern rapper. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know anything about modern rap. I think it's shit. I think it's garbage. You got to keep in mind. I grew up in New York City in the 90s. Nothing's gonna beat that ever. Me and my wife, we argue about that because she grew up in California. She plays West Coast stuff from the same time. I'm like, this is trash, because it is. That's when it started to get like all the virtual instruments and the dumb synths and the dumb Warren G sounds, all this dumb crap. If you like West Coast rap, that's fine. And you got, the acting boy Tupac went to the posh school. He's a hardcore thug. That's hilarious to me. I like New York City rap from back in the day. Like Illmag is so good. I like Big L. I think was one of the best rappers of all time. Most people won't know who he is, but he was great. Love Farside. So, like, obviously, I like Biggie, but like part of what made New York rap so good was the drums on so many of those original tracks were real drums, and they were beats. Like you could be like, yeah, that's like really good. It wasn't so processed. There wasn't so much extra crap going on. I like that. It wasn't just triplet, auto tune. Can't listen to that. Can't listen to that. I hate them and they stink. Did you hear that? My wife was brought up to the Chappelle show the other day, and we said that. I don't think she heard that, or I don't know if she knows I'm talking to her. Yeah, I had all the. I like Wu-Tang too, but they were much better as a collective outside of Method Man. When Method Man went off with Redman, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. Yeah. A lot of the solo albums wasn't the biggest fan of, and the RZA ended up being quite a fraud. Oh, England in the '90s was the best. England in the '90s was the best. Don't Look Back in Anger. Oasis was really good. Oasis is really good. Not gonna say anything bad about that, but I don't know about definitive for the '90s. Maybe for you, you're British. You're British. You didn't even know when half the freaking games on this World Cup. I was watching England play in matches during this World Cup with England involved. And I'm like, oh, England just scored. You're like, oh, the game is on. You're British. And then you get all invested and you're upset about the result yesterday. And I'm like, I've watched more England than you have. Shame. Shame. But don't look back in anger. Fire Tuchel. Absolute idiot. Muppet of a manager. All right, guys. Antigua Burst. Oh no, I can't do that. You're pushing the bridge too far. Can't do that. Okay. You only watched the finals. Then why did you watch England yesterday? That was a semifinal. You know I'll argue with you on this all day. I'll text you when we're done here. I gotta get out of here. And Warlock. That's the winning comment of the day. You win. Harry Kane will not be back, and he's the worst. You're gonna give me. I didn't want to talk about football, and now I got a guy who doesn't actually watch football. He's gonna tell me about football. Stop. You can get me upset. I love you guys. Peace and love. I say this with peace and love. There will be no more autographs, but there will be videos in the next few days. So adios, goodbye, farewell. See you next time. Bye-bye.